Long time ago.
Easily startled, but they'll soon be back, and in greater numbers.
And thus it was! Welcome back, you beautiful bird wyvern. The second large monster I ever hunted way back in Monster Hunter 1. Oh, I am happy he is getting a Wilds glow up. Yes, I am. The question is, though, can even kill Kut? Hello, my fellow hunters, and wow! What a week, hey? Flagship, release date, Yian Kut. I know which one of those three is the most important, is all I'm saying. And there's still more to come as we wait for Scarlet Forest gameplay that I, of course, will bring you as soon as possible. Let's get down to business then, because we might only have seen a few seconds of Yian Kut goodness, but there's a lot going on. So first and foremost, the Yian Kut. I mean, looking fantastic in its Wilds form. Of course, it never got to be in the 5th gen, so this really is quite the jump from properly older school Monster Hunter to this, and that is really nice to see. But the immediate thing that you notice is the wudwud tribe are here. The new Linian friends that live on the Scarlet Forest, which means that, yes, this is on the Scarlet Forest, and that makes sense because the ruins in the background are ruins that we saw in the Scarlet Forest. In fact, literally, the last time I spoke about this, I said, oh look, those mountains in the background covered in ruins, that feels like somewhere we can maybe go to or even go through to get to another locale. There's definitely something up with that, and it turns out it's home to a massive flock herd of Yian Kut that seemingly are, well, tamed, or at least in a symbiotic relationship with the local wudwud tribe. So, ecologically speaking, that is just so Monster Hunter, and I absolutely adore it. But that does raise some questions. Anyway, as we move on, we do see a lot of Yian Kut, like a lot of them. We thought the balahara swarm was a lot of balahara, the doshaguma pack, but this is another level entirely. This vista here, I mean, let's do ourselves a Yian Kut count, shall we? 10 Yian Kut in this one Yian Kut view. That is quite impressive. But again, they're all fairly calm, right? The hunter has walked in on the seikret with your palico, and it's not caused like this sudden stir. Like if you disturb a colony of birds on a cliff face, you know, they'll all take to the sky, squawk about, fly, whereas they're all just kinda relaxed. Maybe they've not noticed the hunter yet, of course, but it does feel like this perhaps is something that we get allowed to do, allowed to go to, allowed to be at once we have befriended the wudwud tribe, which is why the wudwud hideout is important, and we see all of this extra attention given to them, multiple cutscenes, and it feels like our relationship with them, befriending them, actually getting to know them is going to result in a lot more. I speculated that there might be an activity tied to them, you know, some sort of resource generating mini game or something that's worth regular visits to them, and perhaps this Yian Kut nest is exactly that. Maybe they get something from the Yian Kut in return for, I don't know, looking after them, feeding them, finding them stuff, etc, etc. Obviously, Yian Kut aren't the cleverest of creatures, and they regularly feed on Khonshu, which does raise the question, are we getting those demon hellspawn balls back? Oh, God. But perhaps there is an entirely different system at play here, which would also make sense. Now, the ruins themselves are, again, vast. The bones of long-dead behemoths around every corner sprouting from it like trees, but this clearly was a massive city. Like, there is a lot going on here, especially when you compare it to the overall view of the mountains. When this was alive and flourishing, it must have been spectacular. A whole people and their way of life here. Maybe the Kut were a remnant from from that, or they've since moved in the, I assume, many years since this got ruined. The question is, are these ruins connected to Arkveld? Long thought to be extinct, the first thing it did when it showed up again was destroy Natta's village, so destroying civilizations is certainly up its alley, and if it was thought to be extinct, that implies it existed a long time ago, and these ruins are a long time, well, ruined. So being able to actually walk around them like we're clearly getting to do here is very exciting to me. I hope there is lots of little nuggets of lore to find and interpret. It's one of my favourite things. But of course, then the actual flock, and yes, it's a herd mechanic, but I feel like you gotta call them flock when it's a bird wyvern, with the wudwuds. This is where I'm a little bit conflicted. I'm actually kind of leaning on to the side of we won't actually get to hunt Yian Kut. I feel like it would be weird to do so, unless maybe the wudwud give us a quest for like a rogue one that no longer plays ball with the rest of the flock and them, or something along those lines. But the official Wilds website, which updates every time a new monster gets confirmed, hasn't updated with Yian Kut. Granted, it never had Rathalos on it, but, you know, that was the teaser reveal. He's not showed up since, so that kind of explains that, whereas this time Yian Kut has not appeared there. We've also not seen any Yian Kut equipment. So maybe this is kind of like a baby chatacabra situation, but on a much larger scale. This nesting ground with the wudwuds and how we interact with them and each other is going to be something major, something important, but it's not going to be stab them all and wear their beaks, which of course is going to make Cotton very sad if he learns he can't put one of their heads on a stick and swing it like a hammer. But in any case, it does feel like that maybe there is a lot more to this than just, yeah, here's Yian Kut, have a go at them, because of the wudwud presence and their general calm nature here. Like, can you really imagine in this scene that we're looking at, the hunter's gonna ride in on this seikret and just start having a go, stabbing away at all of the Yian Kut in range with the wudwuds here? That just feels weird and kind of not something we're about as the guild. It's really curious to me. So while I do think this is a lot of Yian Kut and maybe making it return air quotes and then not letting us hunt it would be a little bit mean and a waste of resources, and they have officially, you know, on the Twitter now as well, like, yeah, welcome back, Yian Kut, he's here, so it seems like we should get to hunt one, but at the very least, this location right here, these Yian Kut in this nest with the wudwuds, I think is going to be some sort of activity, some reward, some part of befriending them, some story beat that lets something happen, especially with it woven with these ruins, which I'm convinced have a lot more to do with the story than they might first appear to do so. At the very least, the Scarlet Forest is going to be a fascinating locale with a lot going on. And now we know and have confirmation that yes, we can just walk between locales. The Windward Plains, you go down the river, you're in the Scarlet Forest. I still think it would be very cool if progressing through this ruins, through the Yian Kut, maybe this is why we befriend the Wudwud tribe, because they can calm the flock and let us progress. Yes, it's only Yian Kut, but if there's hundreds of them here harassing you, then it makes this area impassable. So maybe the Wudwuds will give us the way of peacefully navigating past a mountain ruin filled with Yian Kut, and then behind here is the next locale and the next stop on the chase Arkveld down, figure out what's going on journey. So yeah, I realize we didn't get a lot here, but I think we did kind of get a lot here, and I would love to know your thoughts on all of it. But of course, there is still a little bit more to look at.
The Forbidden Lands were believed to be uninhabited until just a few years ago.
See, I think that is fascinating. They thought this entire area with its massive sprawling locales was just a literal wild, a wasteland, and there was no people presence there. So finding Natta and then subsequently the tribes, and actually there's a lot of people here, and there's a lot of ruined civilization here, you can see why the guild is all over this. I really like getting this sort of really just told to you going in, and I think it's really good that this whole bit of exposition-y beginner's guide to Monster Hunter Wilds has happened, because as I say, most people don't look at the external stuff stuff on the website, and that's completely fair enough. So this is such a cool primer to everything we're going to be doing in Wilds and why it's interesting and why it matters. So we are now officially known as Avis unit, and then we have Olivia's unit as well alongside us, the Astrum, but I'd be surprised if there's not more than just 2 units. I mean, it implies that there literally is, but maybe only 2 are relevant to the story that we're experiencing, so that's, of course, fair enough. Little things like this I absolutely adore seeing. Just a bug equivalent of the Vigor Wasp, a little blob of healing juice that we just kind of rip away for it and use ourselves, the poor little thing bouncing to the ground, having to start its collection again, and even just seeing that, yeah, we are going to have little traversal bits. We saw the underwater connections, but then the actual caves themselves, it's really, really... And knowing that we will be able to properly whack on our ghillie and just watch these monsters do what they do, the balahara there just sat a little bit into the sand, enjoying itself, and the doshaguma and the pack tactics is really, really nice. Everything about it is just so World Iceborne turned up to 11, and I really couldn't be happier. Seeing the balahara turf war against the doshaguma is excellent again, and the fact that it is multiple of them attacking him, and then chatacabra with doshaguma getting a confirmed turf war is really nice to see. 2 on top of lala barina having one with, again, doshaguma. Apparently he just fights everyone, which I can totally see makes sense. One of my biggest questions is what happens to lala barina and her nest area during the downpour? Is it just flooded and torrential? Does it ruin it? Does her web hold up to it? I think there really is something to look into there. Then the endemic life. We know the formerly baby pukei. We know about the little mini raptories, as Hollow literally caught one in the capture net in our Gamescom playtime, but seeing them actually spotlighted and highlighted is phenomenal. Like, there's some really cool designs on display, and honestly, they have the kind of thought and detail put into them like actual monsters. Like, look at these 4. They're all just perfect and cool and weird in their own ways, and I just, again, I am so excited for this. Please let there be a way to display them. We know they exist, we know they are more natural than ever with their life cycles and observing them and what they can do and how they feel in the environment. We know that you can capture them in the capture net, so it's just that final step that we need to see. We've not even seen hunter housing yet, so that's really the key to unlocking it. But look at these little guys! Like little meerkat tail, sentry, lizards that are just absolutely perfect. And the thing is, with endemic life getting a spotlight like this, with them being as detailed as they are now, there is no doubt in my mind we're going to get the ultra rare endemic life once more, and I can't wait to spend the untold amount of hours capturing it for you guys so I can share with you how to do it, because genuinely, it's one of my favorite things in World and Iceborne. It's one of the things that made me absolutely fall head over heels for base World. It's those little extra details unrelated to the raw hunting that make the whole experience so much more than it otherwise would be. So yeah, these guys are phenomenal. Then we have the amstrigian in its nest, and quite literally its nest. You can actually observe it catching a bug and feeding its little babies. I mean, come on! That is just everything. So few people might actually stop and see that even happen, yet they've done it and it's there for the people that do notice and do care, and that is just everything to me. It's little things like that more than anything else that really show you how much love the devs have for what they're building here. These almost luminescent, kind of lobstery looking bugs are wonderful too. And then we've got the little raptors that we actually did capture, the birds on the back of our now bathing ceratonoth. That's really lovely to see. I wonder what happens when they get lightning rod struck. Fried chicken, or are they shielded too? Even just the kind of cool plant in the bottom left that's clearly a gatherable one as it stands out and it pops with colour. It's just so alive, and I am all for it in every sense. It does specify the people of the Windward Plains, which does make me wonder if there just isn't people of the Scarlet Forest in any further locale. Maybe it's just the Windward Plains that's inhabited, which is why Nata's village was here and why him fighting Ray Dow feels much more climactic and final than the Duna arkveld kill in the Scarlet Forest, where we first see him, and that we're going to start in the Windward Plains, but we're also going to finish in the Windward Plains. Even just seeing them tame more of the local herbivores is really cool, and I'm just going to really enjoy walking around these villages and seeing their way of life. It seems like we have so much story cutscenage, and also that, I mean, still that, look at that, I can't get over that. That is Monster Hunter right there. Seeing the training barrel actually, you know, public and allowed to be confirmed now is nice. That's a thing we obviously need as hunters, and the rolling barrels will never not get old. Then this is something, as I said in my live reaction to it, I think this kind of soft confirms that we will be limited to 4-player lobbies in Wilds as opposed to the 16 in World and Iceborne, simply because with it being a seamless world, you can't have 16 hunters running around on the map, as that would be ludicrous for questing, so 4 makes sense. But I also do think you will be able to just kind of do your own thing if you wanted as 4 people. You don't need to be taking the same hunt, which obviously you could do in conventional lobbies. Separate groups can post separate quests and go on them, but in here it's much more like real because you are still on the same map. So if 2 of you go off for a quest for a doshaguma while 2 of you go off for a quest of a chatacabra, I think it'll be entirely possible for you to cross each other's paths and maybe battle each other's monsters for a bit. I am fascinated how that will actually play out and work, and is one of the things I most want answered, but I do think this kind of points towards it being the way that I just described, which I think is wonderful. Then we get to see the male chatacabra armor and the actual preview smithy screen with Gemma there, the forge in the Windward Plains base camp, the quematrice armor again, then the doshaguma armor, which I think is also the doshaguma greatsword, which is new to say, which is really cool. I love big meaty bone, fairly plain otherwise great swords, like the Great Wyvern Jawblade is in my top 3 all time. I can't quite tell what weapon, it's obviously a gun lance, but what creature it's from, I'm not entirely sure. So yes, the greatsword, then we see the male lala barina with the lala barina sword and shield, and then the male balahara armor, which looks really cool, and then the balahara insect glaive. The little gem in the top's really nice too. It's almost like a staff, which I love the vibe for. And then one thing to talk about is the fact that in the pre-order we get the Hope Charm, which is of course the talisman slot, and if we're getting one for free, I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that like World and Iceborne, it will be crafted talismans and RNG decorations, as we are just getting a talisman. That's not guaranteed based on this, but I think it is likely based on this, so it's something worth mentioning. Other than that then, ladies and gentlemen, that's my initial take on the little tidbits we got today. Of course, Yian Kut, the wudwud, that whole area is fascinating to me, and a lot we could end up finding out there, and then everything else too. There will be another proper bigger roundup with even more new info coming your way also soon, so just generally, you know, stick around for that Monster Hunter goodness. Hit the bell so you actually get notified, thanks YouTube, and just, awesome times. For now, like if you enjoyed this, subscribe to the bell for more, consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below, and until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.